Hello, my name is Mystery, and welcome back. Now, there was a very important period of time in history, which is sometimes referred to by historians as the Age of Revolutions. Now, this is a time when many different colonies and kingdoms across the Atlantic region of the world challenged and overthrew their monarchical rulers in order to establish new societies based on the ideas of freedom and equality. But what is a revolution exactly, you may be thinking? And that is a fantastic question.
My name is Mystery. For reasons unknown, I have been thrown back into the past almost 100 years, and this is my story.
I like to think that there are two types of revolution: technological revolutions and social political revolutions. The Age of Revolutions is about the latter. In this case, a singular revolution can be described as a violent attempt to change the political establishment of a society in order to achieve some type of social or political change. Now, this is not just a fight between one ruler and another to try and seize power and maintain the existing power system. No. That is a coup. A social revolution is an opportunity to change the structure of society forever. So, an important factor in understanding what a revolution is trying to understand its cause. Where do they come from? Typically, there are two overarching factors: ideas and crisis point. Having an amazing idea of how society should change the way it operates is just not inspiring enough for a large mass of people to stand up and fight for change, especially when they have to risk their lives to get it. But an idea coupled with a crisis, now that is a key to a revolution. A crisis like living under an oppressive or murderous ruler, or famine and suffering caused by a complacent ruling class, or maybe it's ridiculous financial pressure caused by high taxes placed on a population. These can cause just enough crises within a population to make them desperate enough to put everything on the line for change. And this was the context for many societies of the Atlantic region of the world from about the 1650s onwards. Because of the pressures placed upon peoples by their kings, the lands were ripe for revolution. Now, some would state the Age of Revolution started with the American Revolution. And before researching this topic, I assumed that the first important revolution from a modern history perspective was the French Revolution. But it was actually the American Revolution that came first out of the two of them. But even before this revolution, there was an English Revolution. Yes, believe it. Now, this revolution that was centered around the king, obviously, but it was versus the Parliament, and an important figure of the Parliament named Oliver Cromwell. You may have heard of this name. Now, the English Revolution saw a great war between royalists and the new power of the upper and the middle classes, represented but largely by Parliament, who overthrew the king, defeated his forces, chasing them all over the British Isles, and even executed him. The important part of this revolution, apart from regicide, was that the victors were able to establish a republican style of government, naming it a commonwealth. You may have heard the term commonwealth. Well, this is its origins. These republicans even united the British Isles, which no English king had been able to properly achieve. While the Republic didn't last long, it had ushered in a dramatic shift in social and political thinking across England, the Atlantic region also, and then therefore would help change the world forever. Now, many people I ask about this revolution haven't heard of it and see current day English people as very loyal to their monarchy. But as a culture, they have been taking revolutionary action against the absolute rule of kings 100 years before even the Americans started throwing around the word revolution. Now, after this, and this is just a rough summary of events here, we have the American Revolution. Briefly, this is a violent reaction by the upper classes in the colonies to the intention of the English to change their relations with the American colonies by not only imposing higher taxation, but also taking the local political power from the colonies back to the English Parliament. And that was enough to spark revolution. But if we look at this from a strictly orthodox revolutionary perspective, this wasn't really a revolution at all, but a seize of power, moving it from one set of hands to another. There was no significant social change or change to the operation of the colonies, apart from them achieving their independence. And that's why this historical event is also known as the War of Independence. So think of it as rule from the English across the Atlantic to sole rule by the American colonial upper classes. This is this is a very debated topic and not as black and white as I'm making it. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Now, after this, we have the French Revolution. But it didn't happen all in one easy swoop, as is often the misconception. The French Revolution was in various parts and stages. Starting famously in 1789, the revolutionaries, under the name the National Assembly, wanted to establish a constitution. After some displays of oppressive force in Paris by the king, the people rose up and stormed the Bastille and took arms against the king. Now, they didn't get rid of their king, though. They wanted a constitutional monarchy, basically a kingdom based on the rights of the citizens, not only the rights of the king. However, a series of events, including attacks from external kingdoms and infighting within the revolutionary movement, led to the formation of the First Republic, the execution of the king, and then the Reign of Terror, a time where the guillotine was used on thousands of people who were considered counter-revolutionary. From here on, we have the rise of Napoleon and the French Empire. While in the end, all they ended up doing really was trading a king for an emperor, the incredible change was their republic and constitution, which put great emphasis on liberty, equality in law, and even the abolition of slavery. Now, these ideas would have a remarkable effect on the Atlantic region and the world forever. And from here, there are revolutions all over South America, where basically all of the modern-day nations of South America take root. They are led by the upper classes of the colonies in combination with native and indigenous populations to overthrow the Spanish rulers. The Haitian Revolution in the Caribbean was of particular importance as it was a slave revolution that leads to the creation of the first African-based republic in history. The Age of Revolution, in an Atlantic sense, ends, into the 1900s, where a new form of revolutionary thinking is taking root across an increasingly industrialized world. Now, some would argue that the Age of Revolution is still going, and I would agree. But future revolutions tend to be against imperialist nations, not simply kings and kingdoms. So let's say the Age of Revolution is really tied to the end of feudalism and the rise of bourgeois society, or the middle class revolution, as we've explored in the two last videos. So what are the true achievements of the Age of Revolution? This age puts into practice the ideas of the Enlightenment, ideas that you probably hold dear and take for granted today. These ideas are the ideas of liberty and equality, that people should be free to live as they wish and have the ability to associate with whom they wish. The ways these revolutionaries put this into practice was by establishing forms of representative government based on constitutions which ensured the state protected these human rights, as opposed to states that ensured the rights of kings. It was now time for the rights of many, not of the few. These new representative governments were to pass laws based on equality, meaning for everyone. For the first time in tens of thousands of years, all were equal under the law, no one privileged over the other. However, let's not get carried away here. At this time, it applied only to men and to ones with property. But that was the legacy of the Age of Revolution, the desolation of the absolute rule of kings and the pursuit of a more liberalized world. Did this really apply to all? No, sadly, of course not. But these ideas had taken root and changed the world structurally, like true revolutions do. So the reason that you live in a society that has a government that protects the rights of individuals and not just reinforces the power of kings and queens and the upper classes is because of the achievements of the Age of Revolution. Many people died and made the ultimate sacrifice so you could enjoy liberty, get a job, buy a house, make a living, pursue whatever makes you happy, like a hobby or a passion. So say it with me now. Vive la révolution. Now, if you found this interesting, please like it and share it. And until next time, remember, I am, you are, we are a mystery.